The government has finally published its energy strategy. It plans a lot of things. In the short run, a move towards North Sea oil and gas, as opposed to imports from abroad. Longer term, the building of nuclear power stations. Then there's offshore wind and other low-carbon technologies with the aim of generating 95% of the UK's electricity from green or cleaner sources. And there are criticisms that it won't do much to bring down energy prices, certainly not in the short term. Let's talk to Natalie Bennett, former leader of the Green Party, now a member of the House of Lords. Good afternoon to you, Natalie.
Good afternoon, John.
So, Natalie, I don't think I need to be a gifted fortune teller to guess that you're not that impressed by this plan, but tell me why.
Well, I think what might have happened is perhaps someone in Bays, all of the things that should have been thrown in the bin actually somehow or other ended up in the strategy, and all of the things that should have been in the strategy ended up in the bin. What's the obvious no-brainer policy, which is a huge investment in energy efficiency, giving people warm, comfortable, affordable to heat homes, stopping the grandmas who are sitting in their cold homes, shivering now, the children who are getting asthma because of their cold, damp homes, dealing with that issue. And, of course, onshore wind with solar, the cheapest form of energy. There was, we know, in March in a draft of this strategy, a target of 44 megawatts, which has somehow just disappeared off into the wind.
Yes.
That should be there, and it's not there. And, of course, we have this nuclear, which is incredibly expensive, uncertain, and incredibly far too slow for the climate emergency.
Right.
Plus, we just oil and gas. I mean, really, we were and are the chair of COP26.
Right, now let's just take one or two of those points in turn then. I mean, more home insulation with a bit of support from the government and a bit more spending from the government, that was a possibility. The Chancellor did not, it seems, want to go there. Now, if he was sitting here, he might say that this was about supply, not about demand, and say that wasn't part of the strategy from the outset. But I guess you're not going to buy that, are you?
Well, first, I guess being the Chancellor, he would only talk about money, but what I would talk about is the economic opportunities. And, the government talks about levelling up. I'd rather talk about spreading out prosperity around the land. And home energy efficiency insulation, that's an opportunities for small businesses, for people to get trained up to have good decades of work in front of them in every community up and down the land. And of course, we think about the pressure that's on our poor NHS at the moment under such enormous pressure. If you have people in healthier homes, then that's less pressure on the NHS. All of these impacts on people's health and well-being are also, thinking in Chancellor terms, good for the economy.
Now, what about nuclear power? You're no great fan of nuclear power, of course. Of course you're not. But the plan under this strategy is that it should supply, I think, a quarter of our needs by 2030. That's a big chunk of our energy needs. If that was not part of the formula, it would put a lot of strain on the other sources of energy.
Well, first of all, what we're talking about, we're thinking about the cost of living crisis, how people are struggling so much at the moment. I mean, I've just been through the nuclear financing bill, debating this in detail, and you're looking currently at Hinkley C, they're talking about £92 per kilowatt hour, £60 per kilowatt hour, maybe from the new ones coming, and the industry somewhere in the distance, we might get £40 per kilowatt hour. The fact is that's what offshore wind is already delivering. Onshore wind and solar are cheaper. So there's the cost element. But above all, it's the fact that we need energy now. And at a best estimate, we're talking about new nuclear in 10 years. And if you look at what's happened to recent nuclear construction, it's been far, far slower than that.
Yeah. I mean, look, and what about the argument that there's a bit of balance in this plan? Let me just put that to you. I mean, you don't like nuclear power. You certainly don't like fracking. But when it comes to fracking, well, there's no big plan for fracking, is there? Just a bit of a study in what to do or not to do in the future.
A SOP that's an utter distraction. I mean, there was a quote in the Telegraph from Whitehall source saying, well, basically, to paraphrase, no one thinks anything's going to come of this, but we'll have another look at it. So, fracking is not going to produce any viable energy supply. It would be 10 years again anyway, same sort of timescale as nuclear. But it is not viable on these islands. That's been very clearly demonstrated. The bigger and more immediate risk is further exploration for the development of North Sea oil and gas. And that's, what we should be doing is joining the Beyond Oil and Gas initiative that's led by Denmark and Costa Rica and saying no new exploration. We have to leave at least 70% of our known fossil fuel reserves in the ground if we're going to avoid catastrophic climate change.
Right,
that's
Natalie,
not me saying that. That's the International Energy Agency. This is the wrong direction.
Natalie, thank you. Natalie Bennett there from the Green Party.